Welcome back, Viking. In this guide, I'll be helping you understand how to defeat the first world boss, the mobs you'll encounter in the Black Forest, exploring burial chambers and caves, upgrading to the Bronze Age of tools and weapons, expanding your building capabilities, and lastly, sea exploration. Before fighting the first boss, I suggest having a full set of armor made from deer hide. That armor alongside a bow, weapon, and shield should put you in good condition to take your first victory. The name of the first boss is Eikthyr. You can find the location of this boss by interacting with the glowing red rune, which will place a marker on your map. You will need 2 deer trophies in order to make a sacrifice to summon the boss. Eikthyr utilizes lightning, so do not fight it during a storm as it will do increased damage to you. Ensure that you eat your food and heal up before engaging the boss, unlike me in the video. Eikthyr has 3 different types of attacks. The first one is an AoE charged attack. The second one is a melee attack. Lastly, a directional charged attack. Utilize blocks and positioning and strike when possible. The fight with Eikthyr is not easy. If you time your strikes right and take your time, I know you will be successful. Once you defeat Eikthyr, head back to the ruins with the head of the beast and antlers that you just picked up. When you are back at the ruins, offer the head as a sacrifice and equip your newly found buff. Eikthyr's buff will reduce running and jumping stamina usage by 60%. It'll be useful for long treks and voyages. These buffs have a cooldown of 20 minutes and 5 minutes of duration, so be sure to use it when you need it most. Before venturing out for more resources, I recommend taking the newly found antlers and making a pickaxe. This will be extremely useful for later when you find copper and tin deposits. Moving on to the Black Forest, when entering the wilderness, you might find yourself come across a few old friends. Well, they're not really friends, they're pretty damn annoying. The Greylings. You may come across a larger beast that poses a much greater threat. If you come across a troll, utilize ranged attacks in the trees to help kite him and slow him down. The troll will slam the ground and throw rocks at you as you attack it. Once defeated, pick up the troll hide and coins that you find on the body as well as the trophy, and save that for later. In the Black Forest, you will also find different entrances for caves and dungeons. When entering the chambers, you will find yourself in a deep underground cavern where you will fight off skeletons and find different chests with loot scattered around the different hallways. Defeat the skeletons, search for loot, and pick up mushrooms as you go to show that you've already cleared a room. You can always eat the mushrooms as extra food as well, so snack away. If you see any bones with a purple aura, make sure to take them out, as those will keep spawning mobs until they're destroyed. Pretty much anything that you find in these burial chambers you will want to pick up, especially Surtling cores. You will need about 10 Surtling cores for later, so pick up as many as possible while out exploring the caverns. If you come across any of the red runes, be sure to investigate them, as they might help you pinpoint the location for your next boss fight, the Elder. That same red rune also appears at broken down towers made of stone. Be careful though, because these towers are usually guarded by grey dwarfs or other mobs. Burial chambers have different types of entrances, but as long as it looks human-sized, they're pretty much the same. You may also encounter caves that look like this, which are much larger at the entrance. On the inside, you'll find an elite troll. With the gear that you have right now, you'll probably die. But, hey, give it a shot if you want. Remember earlier where I mentioned creating an antler pickaxe? Well, you'll need that now. In order to create bronze, you need tin and copper. You can find both of these ores in the Black Forest. Copper deposits are very large in size. A copper deposit will look like a giant rock, but it has a little bit of a shinier tint on the surface. Look for large green deposits like the one in the video, and make sure when you approach it that it actually tells you that it is a copper deposit. You don't always end up getting copper from every portion you mine, but keep hacking away at that rock and you'll end up getting some copper soon enough. Tin deposits are far smaller than copper. Look for small rocks along the beach that have a slight discoloration on the surface. The same principle applies where if you walk up to it and it lets you know that it is a tin deposit, then you're good to go. But if it doesn't say anything when you hover over it, it's going to be a rock. One of the biggest perks of the antler pickaxe is that it can be repaired at the workbench, so it is very useful to build them while you're out mining and repair as you go, just in case you end up losing some durability. After collecting tin and copper, head back to your base and let's go ahead and get that smelting process started. If you recall the Smelting cores that I mentioned earlier that you got from the burial chambers, this is where you're going to need them now. You'll need 5 Smelting cores and 20 stone each for your charcoal kiln and smelter. They both need to be placed outside, so I like to build a little awning out back where I can have these running. Once built, you can go ahead and start adding wood to your charcoal kiln to start creating coal. That coal will power the smelter and smelt your different ores so that you can start combining them into bronze. In order to combine tin and copper, you will need a forge, so make sure to create that as well. And at your forge, go ahead and start crafting some bronze bars. It does require 2 copper for every 1 tin. Once you create about 8 bronze, then you can create your first bronze weapon. I like to create the axe first as it is a decent weapon and it's going to help you gather more types of wood for sea exploration and other uses. Moving into the different types of woods, the first wood that we'll be focusing on is Corewood. Corewood is great because you don't need a bronze axe to cut it down from the pine trees in the Black Forest, and it helps create more structural integrity with your base as you expand and grow. Corewood is primarily used for creating log poles, which provide a lot of support within your base. As you build your base higher and wider, you'll notice different points start to weaken as they don't have as much support as before. This is where Corewood will come into play, and you can help support these weak areas and give them a very sturdy base. The other type of wood that we'll focus on is Finewood. For Finewood, you do need a bronze axe, and you can find the trees that drop this type of wood in the meadows. They're not always the easiest to find, but with the white texture, you should be able to identify them pretty quickly. Finewood is primarily used for creating different types of furniture in your house. This furniture helps bring up your comfort level, as you can see in the top right, which extends your rested buff. Your rested buff just helps you regain stam and health quicker, so it's really useful to rest up before heading out on long expeditions. While this part doesn't require Finewood, upgrading your workbench is going to be beneficial for also upgrading your tools and gear. I recommend creating a chopping block for your workbench and an anvil for your forge, as they're both decently easy to create. Creating these near your workbench and forge, you can see a connecting line between the two. When you see that line, that means it's going to upgrade that station. Now we can move on to the fun part, sailing the high seas. There are different types of boats in Valheim. I recommend skipping the initial raft. It's pretty slow. Honestly, it's not that great. Creating the initial raft requires 20 wood, 8 leather scraps, 6 resin, and a workbench. Creating the carve, which is the mid-sized boat, requires 30 fine wood, 10 deer hide, 20 resin, and 80 bronze nails. 1 bronze bar will create 20 bronze nails, so you'll need about 4 bronze bars in total. One of the features that the carve has that the raft does not is storage space. You get 4 slots of space with no weight limit, so feel free to bring whatever supplies you might need for those long treks out at sea. If you plan on going a long adventure, I recommend bringing some extra supplies because you might end up wanting to build a base wherever you might land. As you explore the map more, you'll end up building bases as you go in different locations. It's nice to build bases scattered throughout Valheim because different biomes focus on different resources. And later when you build portals, you can connect these different bases to your main base so that you have different locations to go to for different things. The speed, endurance, and turnability of the Carve is far better than the Raft. This is why I recommend going with the Carve, because with the Raft, if you plan on making any long journey, it's going to take forever and you will really enjoy the extra storage space, durability, and all the perks of having the larger boat. You may find a few friends out on the high seas as well, so be careful while you're out there. I don't want to spoil the fun. I'd like for you to find out what's out there. If you found that this video was a little too advanced for you, I would suggest checking out my first video on getting started on Valheim. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoy this and want some more Valheim content. I do plan on creating more guides very soon. The videos do take a while to create, so I'm sorry for the delay between them, but I like to make sure that they're detailed and they provide as much information for you guys as possible. If you like live content, feel free to check out my Twitch as well, as I'm live nearly every day and I do love playing Valheim and I would love to share information and stories with you guys. Feel free to leave any questions below in the comments section, or feel free to even stop in the stream and say what's up. And that concludes this guide on Valheim. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you found the information useful.